Did Diddy and Burna Boy bring R&B back? R&B is back, guys. R&B is back, and it looks like it's all thanks to Diddy. And I'm back, of course. It's been a minute. I take the summer off every year. We are in season 3 of Brand Video Pro, and I'm your girl Kenemo. If you're new here, welcome back. And so let's talk about this. Let's talk about how Diddy, Burna Boy, all these R&B hits that we haven't heard in the longest time, it's back. R&B is back. So first of all, before I talk about that, I actually want to talk about the decline of R&B and why R&B, for the past, I want to say 7 to 10 years, R&B just hasn't been hot anymore. Why is that? Why do you think it is? Leave a comment down below. If you ask me, it's because every single genre appropriated R&B. Yes, I'm talking about hip hop. Actually, it started with pop music. So pop music, hip hop, and even Afro beats, believe it or not. All these genres just kind of like took on R&B, and there was no R&B hype anymore because, you know, back in the day we had rappers that actually rapped. Now these days rappers sing and they dress like thugs and they call themselves rappers, but they're really R&B artists. And so that was interesting. You know, I had a video like a couple years ago about the death of Pretty Boy R&B, and I think that might have helped also because we had Pretty Boy R&B with the Chris Browns, with the Justin Biebers earlier, you know, in the 10s, and then around I want to say in the emergence of the Weeknd and the Ty Dolla Signs, they started dressing like rappers, and what's his name, Jacquees, started dressing like rappers, and all of a sudden rappers are singing, and now what is R&B anymore? It doesn't exist anymore. There's no more, you know, sensual love song R&B that people are really just like, that is mainstream, because it does exist, but it doesn't exist in a way or the way that it did in the past. So why did R&B decline? If you ask me, every single genre appropriated it. What was the other thing? There were no superstars, or not, let me correct that. There were only 2 superstars that were pushing the envelope in terms of R&B. And I'm not even going to say it's The Weeknd, because The Weeknd doesn't make R&B music anymore. He started making this sort of like, I don't know, pop, electric, genre bending music. So he kind of wasn't a superstar that was pushing R&B forward. He started out in R&B and he transitioned and he evolved. But the only 2 superstars that were singing R&B songs, if you ask me, are Beyonce and Justin Bieber. And I had a conversation with my friend about this, and we thought it was kind of wild because Justin Bieber being white and R&B being traditionally a black genre, we thought it was kind of wild because he had played a song by SZA, or I had played that Snooze song by SZA, and I was like, wow, this sounds like a song that Justin Bieber would sing. And he was like, whoa, that's crazy that you said that, because like R&B is a black genre, and you brought a white artist in the mix and said it looked like this white artist had embodied, you know, a black genre, R&B, so much that now R&B looks white. It was just an interesting conversation. But there were no superstars that were pushing R&B. You know, Rihanna, she's always been a pop star, but she was a little bit in the R&B genre. And once Rihanna stopped making music, we only had Beyonce and Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber, I believe in 2020, made it his mission to make R&B music, and he was pushing to get R&B credits, awards at the Grammys and stuff, and people like attacked him for cultural appropriation and all that stuff. But, you know, who else was there? Yes, of course, there was SZA and LMA and what's his name? Summer Walker and all these other people, but they were not superstars. They were still like A- celebrities, but they're not superstars. They're not It's not like having Rihanna make R&B music. It's not like what Chris Brown used to be. Sure, Chris Brown was making R&B music, but nobody cares about Chris Brown anymore. Sorry. Apart from his niche like cult following, the mainstream is just not checking for Chris Brown because he just hasn't reinvented himself. Go watch my videos about Chris Brown. So R&B had no superstars apart from Beyonce and Justin Bieber. And I'm sorry, but two people, no matter how famous they are, they cannot carry one genre. We needed multiple superstars. So what happens next? Diddy comes out and he's saying, this is about 2-3 years ago, he's like, R&B is dead, I need to bring it back. R&B is dead, I need to bring it back. He started a label called Love. That label has now transformed into an album. And that album has a collection of songs that he's produced. He's kind of positioned himself as a DJ Khaled, even though Diddy's the one that invented this whole style. He didn't invent it, but he's the one that started this out. He was never really an artist. He was always a producer / he can bring together good artists. He's a label head. He owns labels, so he owns a label, so he knows good music. He puts together these superstars and makes incredible hits. And that's exactly what I think he did with this album, Love. That's exactly what I think he did with his album, Love. He took us back to the 90s. He took us back to the early 2000s when R&B was in its prime, before R&B started merging with pop music. He took us back in this album. And to me, it was phenomenal. Most of the songs I love. And obviously the heavy marketing, the fact that he has such an array of talent, superstars, The Weeknd, Justin Bieber, but he also has more sort of niche people, and also some people that were like, he kind of like has given them a spotlight. They've been like behind the scenes, maybe songwriting and making music, but he really gave them the spotlight in this album. So he has a lot of collaborations, all in the name of R&B, all in the name of, let me bring together the hottest names in R&B, and rebrand it as R&B, not rebrand it as pop music, rebrand it as Afrobeats, rebrand it as hip hop. No, we're going to call this R&B. We're going to stay true to the 90s, early 2000s R&B sound, and we're going to make it hot. And that's exactly what he did, and I think he was successful. Now, it's funny because when I said the death of R&B, I brought in an Afrobeats act, which is Burna Boy, and I said, okay, well, he also contributed to R&B. And some people would disagree with that because they would say, oh no, he's Afrobeats, even though he calls himself Afrofusion. But what is at the root of Burna Boy's sound, his music? What are his greatest hits? These are all R&B songs that he, sings with a Nigerian accent, and then we could call it Afrobeats. It's R&B. Sitting on Top of the World, one of the biggest R&B songs. Tony Braxton, what's that song? It wasn't, no, it wasn't me. No. What's that song again? It wasn't Mad Enough for me, or Mad Enough. R&B song. So you could call Burna Boy whatever you want to call him. His roots are R&B. And so we've taken, this Afrofusion, which is stemming from Afrobeat songs, stemming from R&B music. We've taken that and we've turned it into super hits. So this is why I think Diddy, Burna Boy have changed the game, and both of them over this summer have rebranded R&B. But the question is it going to be enough? Diddy has given us a collection of songs with multiple features, like a DJ Khaled type of album, generating hype from all the different collaborators in the album, and as well as him being Diddy and him being known for making some of the greatest R&B songs of all time. We have that. And then we have this new age Afrofusion, which is really an evolution of R&B. We have all of these things coming together to generate new hype towards R&B. So I'm excited to see what happens. These are my thoughts on the evolution of R&B and why R&B died and why Diddy brought it back. I'm curious to know your thoughts. And if you're anything like me, I know some people will argue, no, R&B has always existed. No, R&B has always existed. Summer Walker, SZA. You could maybe even think Doja Cat is R&B. But the reason why I disagree is those of us like me that are true R&B fans of the 90s, some people even the 80s, some people even the 70s. But those of us of the 90s and early 2000s, we just weren't satisfied with the last 10 years of R&B. As you know, it was almost like the soul was taken out of it. You know, R&B used to be about love. It used to be about light. It used to be about rhythm and blues. Right? But in the past 10 years, they're singing about nonsense. They're singing about nonsense, a lot of these people. Soulless music, talking about degenerate stuff. But in addition to that, also, maybe they are talking about love and heartbreak. But the sound is this sort of like neo R&B that I just never related with. And I'm sure a lot of people can understand. Yes, maybe the younger generations, the Gen Zs, and I don't know about Gen Alpha, but the Gen Zs, maybe they relate with the Summer Walkers and all those people. But for me, I miss the harmonizing of a Whitney Houston, of a Mariah Carey. I miss of Aaliyah, of the early Beyonce. Even Beyonce now, she's still doing it. She's still killing it. But that harmonizing, that, I don't even know the terms of music. It just didn't exist. Those bridges with all the different layered sounds that you could really feel the quality of a person's voice and the quality of the music. I think because the talent isn't what it was in the 90s, the music wasn't where it was in the 90s. I think the vocal talent is just not what it was in the 90s. And so that in part is why, you know, I couldn't get a Toni Braxton. I couldn't get a Celine Dion. I couldn't get those sounds from these modern R&B artists. And because of the quality of the vocals, of the voices were not there, it was lacking. But I think in this album, I wouldn't even say this album necessarily has the quality of vocals of a Whitney or a Mariah, but they are staying true to a nostalgic R&B sound, which is crafted by Diddy, one of the founders of, or one of the greatest producers or music executives, R&B music executives of all time. So I believe he brought R&B back. I'm curious to know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. I'm back. More content. Stay tuned. I'm your host, Kenna Mo. I want to show you my new set. You guys couldn't see my new set. This is my new set. I've moved things around. You like my new set? It's pretty. I'm back. More content. Like, follow, subscribe, all the above. And I'll see you next time. Peace.